Oh, what up? You got the Candyman here with SugarBets. Welcome in to our preview of UFC 287. I'm gonna bring my man Sweet Ian into the stream now. What's up, Ian?
Hello.
Ooh, that's a nice sweater.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. What a good Friday, a good weekend. Weather's getting a little nicer. Sun's been out. Feels good. All right. Let's see. All right, we already got Jeffrey saying bring the momentum. You fucking got it, Jeffrey. You got it. Ian's got the what's he got? A fuck it? Is that a bird on there?
Yeah, it's like a Oriole or something. I'm not sure.
We need more momentum than that. We're gonna take a sip. We gotta have a drinking game for this most nights from now on. Hold on. Let me change this shit too, because I swear to God, my camera is like it makes me fucking dizzy because it moves every time I fucking move. Who doesn't?
I'm having like background issues. I was gonna set myself in Miami because that's where the fights are, but I can't. Now I'm just in my fucking second living room or whatever the fuck it's called.
How do you suck at everything?
Yeah, don't
All
listen.
right.
Never take advice from me. That's the story.
Yeah, that's enough about Sweet Ian sucking at technology. All right, man. 287, UFC 287. This is going to be one hell of a night. Just in general, like, how are you feeling about the night? We obviously have the Pereira Izzy rematch. There's so many fights. Masvidal probably trying to regain his reputation a little bit because he got ragdolled in his last match. Yeah, how you feeling overall? I'm amped for this weekend.
Yeah, up and down. It's just all there's more bangers than a Spice Girls record on this card. Just everything. Early prelims. I know we're not going to talk too much about those. Prelims are fantastic. And then
Got a
like
few. We got a few on the slate.
yeah, you know what? Honestly, let's just go through the whole. Not the early prelims. Let's not worry about those. But like all prelims and main card, I'm down. I'm good to talk through all that.
Mm.
Yeah, lots of good fights on there. I think this is the first time they're in Miami too, since like UFC 40, 41. It's been a long time since they've been back in Miami, which is cool for Masvidal. He's been talking about being the guy to bring the UFC back to Miami for a few years now, and he did it. They did it. That's awesome for him.
All right. Yeah, good call. Let's jump in. Let me pull up the fights. So let's start with some of the undercard prelims that we like. I'm thinking, I'm gonna just pull up the fights. Let me just get a little preview of each. Who did we want to start with? Sorry, I'm having trouble getting the fight card up. There we go. We were going to start with Pfeiffer and Mearshart.
Good place to start. There is one fight before that, but yeah, let's do Mearshart Pfeiffer. I think that's going to be a good fight. You want me to jump right in, or you have anything you want to set it up with?
No, jump right in. Actually, you know what? Yeah, no, I can set it up a little bit. Yeah, Mearshart, he's got good experience. He's 10-7 in UFC, so kind of hit or miss. Overall 35-15 in MMA. He does have 27 submission wins and 6 knockout victories, so you definitely want to watch out for a finish from him. Very opportunistic and a really good grappler. But Pfeiffer's been rising. He's got a lot of momentum coming in. He's currently on a 3-fight win streak, including a Dana White Contender Series victory, 7 knockouts and 12 professional fights. So over 50% KO rate. He did have a horrific injury in the Dana White Contender Series appearance. They got him his UFC contract. So you've got Mearshot's grappling advantage, superior ground game probably, but Pfeiffer's probably the better striker. So yeah, that's what I've got. How do you feel?
Yeah. So in the chat, Gerber said, "Bring the momentum," and Piper's doing exactly that right now. I have a hard time with Mearshart. I don't know if he is where he is on the betting line, but he is a certified finisher. Like, as you said, lots of submission wins, a few knockouts as well. But he's super unreliable and super inconsistent. I think his last fight, he put up a really good submission win. The fight before that, he fought like an idiot. And that's just kind of been his career. I mean, he's so up and down, he's so inconsistent. So it really depends on which version of him shows up. And there's a lot of fighters I think on this card you can say that about.
Mhm.
Piper always shows up to knock people out, though. Mearshardt's been knocked out. He's been knocked out bad before. Chimaev is maybe an exception for actually, again, a few fighters on this card when Chimaev knocked Mearshart out in one punch. I mean, I think it's safe to say this fight probably won't go to the judges. And if I had to lean one way, I'm probably leaning on Piper to be the more reliable finisher here.
All right, so my favorite part about our streams about UFC is so Ian is Sweet Ian, my man. I gotta say it, Sweet Ian, so nice. We gotta get him a pair of pit vipers too, and so he can be even sweeter. But Ian is a goddamn genius with his UFC knowledge and background. Knows the fighters, knows the coaches, and really just comes very knowledgeable. Even outside of the UFC history, when fighters come up from other promotions like Bellator or the one promotion in Asia or just general kickboxing tournaments, random rumbles in the jungle, wherever it happens, Ian's on it. Yes, exactly. Gerber loves Sweet Ian. Sweet Ian. Woo! Well, we gotta get t-shirts for that. Get all kinds of make it rain on Ian. But anyway, so the way it
There's our
worked.
drinking game, actually. The people that I know that have been watching this, they drink every time they hear Sweetie, and
Oh
so
shit.
he is right there.
Game on. We got our first. All right. Every time we say Sweet Ian, we drink. Ah, it's a good Pepsi. Good Pepsi. All right. Let's get Pepsi to sponsor us. Hell yes. Ian, actually, real quick, Ian, what beer are you drinking? I know you got a buddy who's a brewer in Central New York, so I know you're drinking a special one.
Yeah, I don't know if he's watching or not, but Myers Creek up in got to give a shout out to in Casanova, Syracuse area. My buddy makes a lot of their beer. I'm drinking one called Octopus Slippers, and it's got an
Aqua slippers.
octopus
Ooh.
with slippers on it. Imagine that.
Uh,
It's very good.
um, excellent. Do they distribute to Buffalo?
I don't know. I think so. They're one of their head brewers used to work at Thin Man out there, so
All right, all right.
they've got some.
All right, right. All right, so you're leaning towards Pfeiffer. Slightly unfortunately, so are the odds. So I'm just looking at it now. The best you can get on him is at DraftKings. He's minus 180 as a favorite. And the over-under also agrees with you on the general thoughts over under 1.5, with the under being the favorite at minus 129, which just looking at it, you have to get that at Pinnacle, which we don't have access to in New York. And so it's actually really not a great bet anywhere in the over-under. But let me just double check. All right, so the best place you can get anything is DraftKings. I just want to see what the method of victory odds are. Like you said, we don't expect this to go the distance, so let's see if we can find a bet around that. And if we can't, we can't. But that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and if you can't, I mean, Pfeiffer inside the distance would be my lean. But again, Earshart, it depends on which version of him shows up. If he's an underdog, there is kind of a shot in the dark value to that.
I can get him as an underdog plus 170 on Caesars, which is pretty good because he's as low as plus 150 at Bet Rivers, and I actually see him as plus 140. So that's a 30 point swing if you bet him at Caesars as an underdog. Which and this is the way we do the math on it. I don't want to go like too hard on math or anything like that necessarily, but we're looking for positive expected value. And so what we can do is let's set a probability to it. And we're gonna plug our plus 170 into the calculator. And then we say, okay, just for example, Ian, if you had to put a probability to Mearshart winning, just in general, no matter how it's done, what percentage would you give him?
Give him 35%.
35%. Okay. So 35% getting paid at plus 170, we would have a negative expected value of minus 5.5%. So it's pretty easy to not make that bet because basically what you're saying is he's only going to win 35% of the time. Well, plus 170, odds always imply a probability. It's very important to apply a probability to your betting and just have a sense of the likelihood of what you're betting so you know if you're getting a good price. And so plus 170 implies a probability of 37%. So if you want to bet that, you basically have to say to yourself, you're betting that there's at least a 37% probability that Mearshart wins. That's how you do smart betting. That's what expected value is. That's how you calculate it. You want to find your implied odds. And then you say to yourself, okay, I'm betting on, do I think this probability? And then when you think about it simply by probability, now you just think about a coin flip, 50-50, right? If I had a coin that came up heads, 60% of the time, well, how would I bet? So applying a probability is very, very important. So in this particular case, I don't know. I don't feel confident betting one way or the other. So I got the DraftKings app up. And what I want to do is, okay, so fight props to go the distance, no is minus 500. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that no matter who wins, they think it's not going the distance whatsoever.
Let's not lose the fact that means it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I mean, we're expecting, just as you said last week, when you have to worry about fight night bonuses, right? Like early fights. And we're talking about, this is the first fight we're talking about in the early prelims. I mean, it's gonna get fun. It's gonna get bloody. We love blood sport.
This is the prelims. Even in the early prelims, there's some guys that can take some heads off. So there's gonna be a lot of competition for those bonuses.
Yeah, so let me pop off the old Vipers here because they impede my vision a bit in the nighttime. Don't switch a blade on a guy in shades at night. Everyone knows. So you can get like Mearshart. It's interesting. Mearshart by submissions plus 275. That's like by far the favorite if Mearshart wins is sub. And then you can get Pfeiffer. So Pfeiffer by KO is the favorite. It's minus 105. Just Pfeiffer by KO. Oh, double chance if you want to take a little less risk. If you like Pfeiffer, you basically like Pfeiffer at a 65% rate, effectively. And we think he's going to win by KO or submission. So that's minus 135.
I wouldn't take the submission on Pfeiffer. If I were to do a double chance, I would do a KO points.
KO points. All right, so that's minus 165. It is more likely. That brings you to a 162 probability. Or I'm sorry, 62% probability. 165, we say a 62% probability. Or I'm sorry, it's minus 155. You said you think it's a 65% win probability, right? Kind of the inverse.
Yeah, if I had to make up a number, that's what I would.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess that theoretically that's the bet. I guess you have to lay a lot though at 165, and you're getting That's a decision. I think if you want to gamble a little bit, be a little riskier. Technically, our bet would be Pfeiffer to win by KO, and just at minus 105, and hope he has more than a 50% chance to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Mearshart, he fights well as a dog sometimes. So it depends on which version.
Does he get knocked out?
He's gotten knocked out. He doesn't always get knocked out.
Well, not always, but same with me. I've been knocked out, but not always.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. I don't black out every night. There's some Mondays in there that we make it through.
Yeah, I mean, these guys only get knocked out once every couple months, so same rate probably.
Yeah. All right, just for
he's a finisher in his own right, so he could get it done. I just think the likelier outcome is Pfeiffer gets the KO.
All right. Well, Candyman, I feel like gambling, and we've been good. Like 3 weeks ago with the last pay-per-view, we went 9-1 on our picks.
We do really well on pay-per-views.
We do. Overall, we're up on UFC. We're like 33% ROI on the year. Last week was a little rough, but it was a kind of random fight night, and it's just a tough night.
I feel like the stakes are higher on pay-per-views because our whole philosophy is win enough to pay for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
The stakes are a little bit higher.
We got to win at least $80.
I don't want viruses, so I don't want to have to stream it.
Unless you go to Brick House in Amherst where they have no cover. So come on up. I know you're like 2 hours away. Come on over.
So then I have to win enough to pay for like the gas to get out there.
Wonder what that would be. That less or more.
Probably about the same.
All right. I'm a gambler. That's what we do here. I'm gonna put minus 105 Pfeiffer to win by KO. And put a little more than a unit. Big unit. Take a drink to that. Drink to the unit. Oh man. Hope you guys can't hear the fish tank behind me.
I can't hear the fish tank.
AI is incredible. I don't know if you all use GPT or Midjourney. What's that now?
You have an AI fish tank? Is that what you're saying?
No, I have an AI noise canceling app.
That's not as cool.
And it's really cool. Watch when I turn it off. Ready? See what it sounds like. Go. Hear fish tank? Yep. There. AI on. No fish tank. Amazing. Truly. We got to change your name in here. It just says Ian. You got to be Sweet Ian.
Want me to change it?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, we said it. Drink. Gerber, drink. Gerber, who else you got? We got to share. We got 8 viewers right now. I don't know who's in here. Who's in the chat? If you're in here, eight people, I'm gonna see in the chat. Then suddenly there's 7. I call out somebody. Someone's like, oh shit, they know I'm here. They left. FBI. Hashtag FBI. As soon as I said there was 8 people, there was suddenly 7 people.
Oh well.
Probably you know who it was. Probably Parlay Jess. We haven't given our parlay picks yet.
Oh,
we know Jess loves parlays. All right, we got to focus.
Okay, so that's actually a good call out. Pfeiffer by KO might be a good leg.
What?
In a parlay, Pfeiffer by KO.
It would be good in a parlay?
Yes.
Why?
Because the odds aren't that great for it. Well, if you get in a parlay, I could be good.
Fair. I hear you.
Okay. I don't know. I just talk about violence.
Yeah, you're the violence guy. All right, I got half naked men on my other screen. It's all right, let's move on. So we're taking Pfeiffer. We lean Pfeiffer. We're definitely not heavy one way or the other. We don't think the odds are great technically. I mean, just the way we put the probability on Mirror Chart just doesn't feel like the odds are worth it. And I don't feel like I'm getting paid enough on the favor to lay the large odds. So what we did was found who we think's gonna win and the most likely method of victory for him. Just go ahead and lay those minus 105 odds. I feel comfortable with that. Small bet, 1 unit, simple bet, but that'll get us started for the night. So I think we can move on. Let's go to this is going to be a really fun fight. So middleweight clash between Kevin Gastelum and Chris Curtis. Both fighters looking to prove themselves. Pivotal matchup. Gastelum aiming to regain his winning form, and Curtis striving to continue an impressive UFC run. Gastelum struggled recently. He's been only 1-5 in his last 6 appearances, but he's been injured. He's faced top competition, so it's been a tough go for him. But if you want to be the top, you have to beat the top. So he's Chris Curtis. He's been on a great run. He's 4-1 recently with notable wins against Phil Hawes, Brendan Allen, and Joaquin Buckley. And but it'll be interesting because Gastelum, he can mix a grappling with striking well. That's probably his key to victory. Good wrestling background could be an advantage, but Curtis is a good counterboxer, and 100% takedown defense. So if Curtis can defend the takedown, he's probably the better striker. It's kind of my amateur read on it. What do you think?
Yeah, there's actually a lot to talk about in this one. So Kelvin Gastelum, like you said, I think he's won one fight in like the last 5 years. They've been tough fights though. He's gone up against title contenders and title holders. He will be probably in the Hall of Fame for his if that fight's not already in and I missed it. But his fight against Adesanya, that was absolutely legendary. So that will be in the UFC Hall of Fame. So the guy, he fights hard. He's had a tough run of luck. Curtis is one of the best boxers in that division, probably, arguably. Knocked out Joaquin Buckley, which Kevin Holland has also done. He's also on this card. That's a hard thing to do. So it's
quite the reach. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just looking at the stats. He has a 4-inch reach as well over Gastelum.
Yeah. He's a really, really good boxer. And I think that's what's going to help him this one. Gastelum, he's declining. He's just getting older. He's he's only 31 actually, which is crazy to me because he's had a lot of mileage in his fights. They actually blew my mind. I thought he was actually like 35, 36, but he's had a lot of mileage in his fights. He's taken a lot of damage. He's had injuries. He's had layoffs. He's had just a lot of really brutal fights, but that's what he's built for. He's an absolute tank. So what he needs to do, I think, in this fight is he just needs to put everything together. He has some wrestling at the weigh-ins and at the pressers and everything like that. He looked a lot leaner, which to me kind of signifies that he's going back to his wrestling roots a little bit, not relying maybe so much on his striking. Mm-hmm. His striking is good, but he's got like 3 combinations that he throws over and over and over again. He's got a very weird stance and style. He just lets his like arms hang like super low. It's weird. It's not going to work against a guy like Curtis, I don't think. So if Gastelum can put everything together, his wrestling, his striking, his footwork, his head movement, he's got a shot. Curtis, though, I think he's just got more output. I think this is going to be one of those fights that on paper looks like it's going to be like an absolute war. Mm-hmm. But I could see it being the kind of fight that's like 2 guys just staring at each other, waiting for something to happen.
Interesting.
And I think in a fight like that, you favor the better boxer, which is going to be Curtis.
That's interesting. So over under is 2.5 rounds with the over the pretty strong favorite. So Vegas generally leaning with they're going to stand around and do less philosophy. But what's interesting is you have identified Curtis as a best bet because you can get him plus 120 at MGM. And actually, it's funny. Gastelum is the favorite across the board. He's a little up and down, but like FanDuel, he's minus 132, and that's the best you can get. That feels a little high to me. And I actually really like the plus 120 we can get at MGM on Curtis, just based on what you're saying.
And as far as like, just continuing the handicap, I wouldn't discredit the fact that Gastelum has had such a slide. Like I said, he's won one fight, I think, in the last 5 years. This is an absolute need to win fight for him.
How do you feel about that in general in the UFC? Do people respond to that? Like there's narratives are common, all kinds of narratives. So let's call that a particular narrative. Guy who needs to win to feel like he belongs or to not get kicked out. Just like is there truth to that? I don't have data in front of me. I'm just curious what you think.
I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know what he's done differently. I don't know because there's a lot of times when guys like have those long skids where they'll lose a bunch of fights in a row, and then maybe they'll change gyms or they'll go to a new coach or they'll get like a new trainer or something like that. Gastelum's coming back from injuries. I don't know that he's done anything like that. It doesn't mean he hasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, not to compare him personally or directly to John Jones, but John Jones was just off for 3 years, came back and dominated right away.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen here because Jones was already super dominant. Like he never lost a fight. Debatably lost one, technically, I guess. Although I heard that got overturned. Anyway, he was super dominant. Super
the
dominant.
best way.
Yeah, super dominant. Added weight, came back, did what he needed to do. He knew exactly how to beat Cyril Gane in that fight. It was no problem. He did it in like 2 minutes. Gastelum, a little bit different. He's fought the way he's fought for his whole career, which is just a little bit of wrestling, a lot of striking, and a lot of standing and waiting for something to happen. I love like he's put out absolutely good like performances, here and there, but I don't know, like I'm not super high on him right now. I think Curtis is the up and coming guy. I can see Gastelum being the kind of fighter who a year from now is in like bare knuckle fight club or something like that.
Okay. Which by the way, I do watch BKB. I do watch it Friday nights. The English BKB league is brutal. I love it. They're the tiniest ring, and just like these guys are terrible, and it's fantastic. There's blood everywhere, and it's always like some like 45-year-old dude who's like clearly just bar fights versus some like young kid who also clearly just bar fights. It's fantastic.
There's an interesting bare knuckle fight club fight coming up.
Club? You can't say that. Shh.
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
You don't talk about that.
Really got me doubting everything.
What are you doing? Tyler's coming. Tyler's here now.
Yeah, Mike Perry, Luke Rockhold, that should be a silly one. Both like ex-UFC fighters just going at it bare knuckle.
Yeah. Let's go back to we talk about it all the time. Let's go back to like UFC 5. Get the Gracie family going. No holds barred. Full gi. Whatever people want. So, all right. So let's lock this bet in.
You got Curtis?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Curtis. I mean, you can get him plus 120 at MGM. Let me just find him here. It's hard not to take that.
I also would not. I don't know if this makes a difference. I also would not expect either guy to get a finish. Both these guys are super tough. Gastelum's got like a horse neck. It's crazy. Like, dude's never gonna get knocked out.
Let's take a look what the total rounds are. Yeah, what's interesting is you can. This is why you got to have multiple sports books and shop around, because what I'm looking at is when I have my screen up over here, I have all the books, and I'm not going to bore everybody with spreadsheets and numbers. But I can tell you that FanDuel and BetRivers both have Curtis at plus 108. So much lower than plus 120. And that is, again, that's where we find value. When we talk about value, that's what we're talking about, is MGM's plus 120. DraftKings is plus 120. But FanDuel's plus 108. And again, since all these odds imply a probability, and they also include a VIG, essentially a percentage that the sportsbook will collect, because that's how they make money. Typically, it's about 4 to 5% per bet. So as long as they have money relatively even on both sides of a given event, they're going to make 4 to 5%. So it's basically how odds work in short. And so we can find value by identifying a book that's off market or off our projection. And when we see a book like MGM at plus 120, where it's a little bit off our projection, like we're confident in Curtis winning, we would lean him. So even if a lean is 51%, if you're getting plus 120 odds at 51%, your expected value over time is 12%. You should actually be betting 5% of your bankroll on something like that. Even though you're going to lose 49%, 50% of the time. You might lose the bet, but you should really still make it. So let me take a look at the total rounds. Curtis Gastelum. Yeah, the over is a pretty heavy favorite. The best you can get is minus 220, so really no point in betting that. But all right, yeah, we got our money on.
He's plus 240 at FanDuel.
What's that?
I just took Curtis on points. He's plus 240 at FanDuel.
Points at FanDuel?
Yeah.
That's a good bet. Yeah, so that's a good way to take the handicap, apply what you know about the odds as well. Because if the sports books are telling you that it's going to be, if the sports books thinks it's likely to go over, and we think it's likely that Curtis is going to win, you combine that, then well, Curtis by points is the bet. And so that's really how SugarBets we find value. If you look on Pickit, which is an app, Pikkit, Pickit, yeah, follow SugarBets on Pickit, and you can see all of our bets, every single one of them ever made, starting at the beginning of this year. I didn't have the app before this year, and we weren't quite as into it, but starting at the beginning of 2023, just take a look at our record and our bets there, and what you'll see is we tend to find good bets where the general the payout outweighs the general losses. So our win-loss record is actually below 500. We lose, and relatively, to be honest, expect to lose the majority of bets, but the wins we have outweigh the losses. And so in the long run, we're about 10% profitable on UFC. I've separately been about 10% profitable on college basketball. I'm about 20 to 30% profitable on NFL. So I highly recommend to follow. It's a little early or a little late in the season right now. There's not much to bet on besides UFC, so I'm very grateful to the fight gods for 287 tomorrow. All right, so I went back into the Curtis one on here, and I'm finding, yeah, decision overall is minus 190. Curtis by decision. What'd you get him at FanDuel?
240. Curtis on points.
Curtis on points is FanDuel 240. Yeah, see that's so at FanDuel that's better. It's so funny how they do that. But let me see, Curtis on points. Yeah, he's plus 225 on MGM. So that's why it's important to shop around. Like that really, really changes your value and your ROI, because if you're not getting the best price, people are always like, oh, I don't want to sign up for different apps. And like I understand it's kind of a pain in the butt. But there are apps to see all of the odds at all the sports books. SugarBets, we're working on one. If everyone watching remembers Kevin the fact checker. Kevin the fact checker he's our data scientist and software engineer, and he is truly right now we're very close to launching an app that will grade odds boosts for you. So any odds boost you see, our app will automatically be able to tell you if it's a good bet or not based on when you add up. Because a lot of odds boosts are like, oh, these 3 teams are gonna win, blah 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 this day. And so what you do is you have to find all of those 3 teams' odds individually, multiply them, add them up, and see if the odds boost is actually a good boost compared to the market. So our app's gonna basically automate that process for everybody. So I'm pretty excited about that. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting away from myself. So I'm going to go back to Curtis on FanDuel. And you said you took him by points at plus 240. I like that bet as well. So let's go ahead and find Curtis. Again, we haven't even gotten to the main card yet. We're gonna say Sweet Ian one more time. Kelsey shouted out Sweet Ian. Kelsey, if you're still watching, cheers to you, because Sweet Ian's our drink of the night. So we're drinking every time we say Sweet Ian.
I don't have to because that's my name.
Oh no, you have to.
Oh,
Required.
you put the rules.
You have to entertain the crowd while I'm gambling.
That's what I have to do?
That's your job, sir.
Oh.
Curtis by points, 240 FanDuel. Fine. How much you put on it? $100,000? You bet your cats? You bet Murphy? You bet his winter fur?
Yeah, I have a just like a big box of all his fur.
Betting Murphy fur futures?
What did I do? I don't know. I don't remember. Curtis on points. I did.
I'll throw a unit. I'll throw a unit.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. What's a unit for the people at home? Me. What for me at home? What's a unit?
Unit is your basic bet. So if you're very confident in a bet, I would say a unit should be anywhere from 1 to 3% of your total bankroll. So if you've got $100 in your betting account, as silly as it might seem, you should honestly only be betting $1 to $3 per bet.
Oops.
Yeah, a lot of people really enjoy the parlays and all these things, and it's just like, I mean, it's just bad math, and I don't know. I know math's boring, but I will and can explain it if anyone wants to hear it, but few do. So just trust that the math, trust the process, trust the Sweet Ian. Follow us, me, SugarBets, on Picket. You'll see the results. They're right there. I'm connected to all the sports books. You can see where the results are. So, all right.
Wait, hold on. You said Sweet Ian.
Yes, we got sound effects. We need Joe O in here. Joe, you in the chat, my man Joe in Texas. Big KC Chiefs fan. Congrats to Joe. Shout out. He's our inspiration for our sound effects. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So we had Curtis basically by points in that one. Generally, we have Curtis overall, right?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
that's what's so hard about this is like a 14-year-old could knock out any one of these people with the right shot. So like it's hard to be like, yeah, Curtis is going to win because Gastelum's trained professional.
That genuinely sounds absurd.
No, it's literally true.
A 14-year-old can knock out a pro UFC fighter
with the right shot. Yeah. How do we make bets on that? How do we bet on that? What are the line?
I don't know. Street fighting? I don't know. Kimbo sliced it.
Or professional UFC fighters?
What professional UFC fighter?
Yeah, let us know.
If anyone has access to international yachts where like crimes don't exist, we can do this. Perfect. Love it.
Who's next?
Sweet Ian with the criminal ideas. Hit me with it. Hit me with it.
You hear it?
No. Yeah.
Gotta turn it up.
Sweet Ian. You have to turn it into shots of Irish spring water.
Spring water, yeah.
Yeah. Good old Irish spring water.
Yep.
All right. Next, we've got a big bantamweight showdown between young and undefeated Raul Problema Rosas Jr. Or excuse me, his nickname is El Nino Problema, so it's a little problem. But Raul Rosas Jr. He's 7-0.
The problem boy or something.
What is it?
I don't know. I don't speak Spanish. We need Joe again.
I mean, it's either the problem boy, problem child, or the little problem. There's only a few options here.
I have no idea.
Sign up for Babbel. Babbel, please. Please, we do UFC.
Be a sponsor, so
yeah, please help us, Babbel. If anyone out there works in advertising or media and knows how the ads work, let us know. We're not sure. So, uh, so Rosas Jr. is 7-0, yeah, but he's taking on the gritty Christian Rodriguez, who's 8-1 at 135. So bantamweight, slightly smaller guys, but they usually provide pretty electrifying fights because they've got stamina and they can do all kinds of fun flips and kicks and things. So, but yeah, Rosas is on a meteoric rise. Rodriguez is eager to prove he's more than just a stepping stone. For the 18-year-old prodigy in Rosa. So with both fighters and boasting impressive submission victories, it's a high-stakes matchup, but promises quite the clash of styles.
What were you doing at 18? I can't
What's
legally
that?
say, but what were you doing at 18?
What was I doing at 18? I'm not sure I
18
can
years
talk.
old.
18 years old?
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not talking about that time in my life.
I was probably doing some punk shit. So Roses is 18. He's got his second fight in the UFC. He's like the first fight on a pay-per-view main card. I was not doing that.
No? Are you sure?
Yeah, unless I
You'd
got
probably still be in the UFC. You'd be in the UFC Hall of Fame.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. So, all right. So Roses is good. Obviously, he's very good. There's a lot of stories around him. He's 18 years old. He's on track to be the youngest champion in the UFC. He's got Latin American superpower. There's a lot of reasons the UFC wants to like nurture this kid and grow him into a superstar. I don't know if it's just me now. Did you go away? All right, I'm everybody now. Yeah, there you are. Okay, cool. Thought I had to pretend to be you.
Nope. I decided to change my pit vipers. So anyway, sorry, go on. Rosas. Rosas,
Yes,
18.
lot of storylines around him. Latin American superstar.
He's an American superstar.
Latin American superstar.
Oh, my bad. Where's he from?
Latin America. Oh, don't give me that look with that face.
I'll Google it. Go on.
Yeah. Anyway, so 18 years old. There's a lot of hype behind him. He's lived up to it. He's performing and I guess handling the pressure beyond what an 18-year-old should, which is great for the UFC. They want this kid to be a superstar. And he has the ability to do it. Christian Rodriguez is a good fighter, but I think he kind of is a stepping stone. He's got the ability to win fights, but Roses is I don't see the UFC putting him in front of somebody that he isn't going to beat on that stage to propel whatever hype is behind him. Because
Yeah.
not only is there the money behind him and the hype and stuff like that, but at 18 years old to be at that level, one misstep, one injury, one act of negligence derails his entire career, and then the UFC loses that entire, like the rest of the storyline will never be written, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think they put him in front of somebody that he can easily beat. I think Rodriguez will put up a fight, but I don't think he can handle with the pressure, the aggression of Roses. My lean, if I had to pick, probably going to be Roses by submission later in the fight, round 2, round 3.
Okay. Yeah, I like that specific handicap. So when you look at the odds, yeah, just looking at it, the general stats, Roses, he's win rate is 67% by sub, 17 by KO, and 17 by decision. His average fight time's only 8.5 minutes. So what's that? Under 3 rounds, or just over. Yeah, 7-0. So let's take a look at the odds. Rosas is in general, where'd he go on my screen? Rosas. Where'd you go? He's the best you can get is minus 240 at DraftKings, and that's feels like an awful lot for him. So let me just double check. You mentioned him by submission. Say more about that. Rodriguez by submission?
No roses.
That's what I thought. Yes, I'm trying to find that on DraftKings. Hold on.
Like I'm looking. Yeah, you're on DraftKings. I'm on FanDuel. I'm looking at look at the lines right now. Roses by submission on FanDuel is plus 170. It's the most likely outcome. Roses by submission in round 2 is plus 700, and in round 3 is plus 1400.
Why don't you think it'll happen in round 1?
Even if it does, it's plus 410.
Fair. I'm just curious why you would lean towards, like, would you want to like spread bets across the 3? Just, or I guess you said 170 on FanDuel for by submission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only 165 on DraftKings.
Yeah, 170 by submission at all, and then depending on the round, it's going to be at least minimum 410, at most 1400.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take a gamble on the round, it's fair. Let me just see. I want to find method. Roses. No, it's terrible. Oh, the sports books are terrible. Roses by submission. Actually, all right, here we go. It's a little better. So MGM, I can get plus 175 roses by submission. That seems like the bet. Let's give MGM my face so I may log in. I often find MGM has quite a bit of value. Their NBA alt lines can be off quite a bit from the market. Let's do a full unit on roses by submission.
That's how they get you to give them your money.
I mean, they get me to give them their money by being an available sports book in New York State. And also because I like their hotel and casino in Las Vegas.
That's fair.
I mean, it's funny because all of Vegas is now owned by Caesars and MGM, and not just like the hotels, but literally the land under it. And it started to get to a point where the land is not necessarily owned by the same group that owns the hotel on top of it. So like MGM will own land that a Caesars brand hotel is on top of. And the landowners are like leasing the hotel, of course. So that's why Vegas hotel brands change constantly, because the game now is all about the land, which sounds right. Sounds right. It's always about land, water, or oil. Yeah.
About that.
Someone should. I should run for Congress. Candyman. Like Lord Such out of England. So, all right, moving on. We've got roses by submission. If you want to really gamble with it, pick a round, sprinkle some across all the rounds. But I'm just going to take it by submission plus 175 at MGM. All right, moving on. Let's get to a captivating welterweight battle. The charismatic and outspoken Kevin Holland, known as Trailblazer. He's well experienced, 23-9, 1 no contest. He takes on the heavy-handed Santiago Ponzi. Oh boy, Ponzinibbio. Help me, help me, Jesus. What?
Ponzinibbio.
Santiago. I need to get in my documentation. I need to get phonetics. That's for next week. A little better phonetics and my talk, so I know what I'm saying. The Argentine Dagger. I'm gonna go with that because his nickname is the Argentine Dagger, and it's way more badass. Anyway, so welterweight battle around 170 pounds. Both fighters looking to make a statement in the division. Holland's going to rely on his striking and slick submissions, while Ponzinibbio aims to unleash his knockout power. Should be an action-packed showdown. A lot of promises to be a tactical chess match. Each fighter seeks to exploit their opponent's weakness and claim victory. So Kevin Holland's he's unranked, very successful, but I believe he's unranked. He's been relevant in the welterweight division. He needs to keep winning. I'm not quite sure what he needs to do to jump up, but I mean he keeps winning performance bonuses in the in several of his fights. He's a great striker, great cardio. Always puts on a show for the fans. So. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but at the same time, Santiago, the Argentine dagger, he's had six performance bonuses, recent wins, big, exciting, powerful fighter, fan favorite. He had that knockout victory over Alex Morano at UFC 282. He was previously ranked number 7 at 170, so dangerous contender. Curious what you think, because again, like it seems to me like Santiago's the dangerous, more up and coming, stronger fighter, but Kevin Holland is just he doesn't seem to go away.
Well, he almost did. Well, he did. So he's at. I mean, all right. So I'll start with Holland. He's had a couple losses recently. He lost to Chimaev, which I don't even feel like counts. That was that fight where Chimaev, like, there was a whole shakeup backstage, and then they just like the three main fights on that card just all shuffled who was fighting who like last minute. So Holland drew the short straw, got Chimaev. Holland is notorious for just being awful at stopping wrestling. And Chimaev is notorious for being the guy who's just going to maul people like a polar bear. And that's exactly what happened. So I don't even really count that one. And then Holland got a submission win over Tim Means, maybe? I think it was Tim Means. So Holland got the submission win over Tim Means, which is really surprising. And then fought Stephen Thompson, which was like an absolute crazy kickboxing battle. They were high-fiving each other and kicking each other in the head and smiling about it and whatever it was. It was a good fight. It was actually a really good fight. If I recall correctly, that was doctor stoppage, which is why. So Stephen Thompson got the win on that one. So those two losses were like, yes, they were losses, but like I don't know how much you really count them, considering he went on that like 4 or 5 fight win streak right before that, or a couple, maybe a year before that. So Holland's got the chops. He knocked out Joaquin Buckley. He's knocked people out. He's got a chin. He's actually a black belt in jiu-jitsu, which gets super overlooked because he never uses it really. Ponzinibbio, on the other hand, and I'm kind of handicapping this in the way that like I'm leaning as well. Ponzinibbio is a really technical kickboxer for sure. He can be aggressive. He can put on pressure, and I think that's what you need to do against a guy like Holland. Ponzinibbio, though, he has a bad habit of starting slow. He has like that fight with Morano that you mentioned. He was losing that fight. He started too slow. He ended up getting a knockout win later, like in the 3rd round, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts slow and then picks it up. So I see this going one of two ways. Yeah, I mean, so actually, let me finish my thought. He my other concerns with him, he's been in and out of activity due to just like injuries,
Mm-hmm.
and his chin hasn't held up super well either. So the way that if I were to envision this fight happening, it would be he might get down on the scorecards and then be super aggressive towards the end of the fight. And Holland, what he would need to do probably is stay on the outside and kind of fight like a sniper. And I think he's going to catch Ponzinibbio by doing that. Adversely, on the other side, if Ponzinibbio starts out strong and gets up a couple rounds, he's not going to be aggressive and he's going to end up on the outside anyway, which is where Holland wants him. So both ways that I'm thinking about this fight, I think it could possibly go either way. It is a really good fight and it has potential to be fight of the night. Both ways I'm thinking about it, I think Holland ends up getting the range that he wants and landing some shots that probably puts Ponzinibbio down.
Do you think it then doesn't go the distance?
That one's a toss-up for me. I could see it not going the distance. A big question mark for me though is For as much as Ponzinibbio has issues with his chin, his durability, he's had injuries, his in and out, stuff like that. Holland, like, effectively retired at one point. Not for very long, but he retired. And I know he's like motor mouth and he talks and stuff like that, but Dana White famously says, like, if a guy even mentions the word retirement, he's on his way out, kind of thing. Like, he doesn't have it in him to fight anymore because it takes a
Yeah, people talk about that in the NFL.
yeah,
Like, it's once your mind isn't 100% into a basically battle mindset. So, what's interesting, odds wise, so Santiago is plus 210 at Caesars, and he's lower everywhere else, down to 190 at Bet Rivers. 195 other places. Kevin Holland's minus 240. Oh, pardon me. I got a drink. I yawned. Drink. Yeah, Kevin Holland, the best you can get is minus 240. Just feels to me like that's a lot to lay. Like, that's basically saying Kevin Holland's like 2-1 to win.
I wouldn't put him there. I wouldn't put him at 2-1.
Yeah, that's what's tough.
I would say he's a favorite for a reason. Everything that I described, he's a favorite for a reason, but Ponzinibbio is not an easy fight for him.
Yeah, actually, minus 240 implies a 70% chance.
I don't think it's a 70% chance.
But Holland wins.
I don't think it's a coin flip, but it's somewhere in between.
Really, it's fine. Like I said before, I'm not looking necessarily to win every bet. I'm just looking to win more than my losses. So the plus 210 you can get the other way. Santiago implies 32% chance of victory. I don't know. Might want to stay away from this one.
I'm just going to take a straight chance on Ponzinibbio by points.
By points?
Yeah.
What are you getting? What's the odds?
I mean, that's not what I think. Well, I mean, if I just play the whole fight.
No, yeah, no. It's more of
if the most likely outcome. But I think if Ponzinibbio wins, he's favored. Like, if he wins, he's favored to win by KO. I don't really see that happening against Holland. Holland's still durable. He's still young. I don't know. I mean, there's questions around if he trained, as hard as he typically would for a fight like this. But Ponzinibbio on points is plus 550. So I could see it being a high output fight and going to a wonky decision. I mean, that's a possibility.
Plus 550 implies the 15% chance.
Yeah, I can see 15%.
Yeah. All right. So I like that. I like Santiago.
Ponzinibbio
by points. Where are you at, FanDuel?
Yeah, FanDuel. I'm so conflicted because, like, I want to be right when I make these picks, but I'm also like, it's so possible.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but to me, it's like it's really about the probability. It's like, is this 15% probable or more? Then I should bet it because I'll get paid often enough that it'll cover any losses that I should expect. Well, in here, actually, I'm looking at FanDuel. Adesanya to win by KO or on points is got an odd boost to plus 120. He's probably not going to win by sub if he wins.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I am so interested to get to the Adesanya Pereira fight. Anyone watching, invite your friends because we're about to get into a fantastic fight. Very soon. We've got like one or two more.
Watching us probably doesn't have friends.
Doesn't what?
Or we are their only friends.
Oh. It's
Just kidding.
embarrassing for us.
Really alienate everybody.
As soon as I said that, no, one more person showed up. If anyone could chat, that'd be great. Throw us questions in the chat. Anything you want to know, any fights you want to talk about. But who was I just trying to find? Who the heck were we just talking about? Oh my god.
Holland, Ponzinibbio.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sweet Ian. Take a beverage.
Oh no, my phone's gonna die.
What is?
That's my
How
fault.
do you?
That's my fault.
It is your fault. Plug it in.
Well, no, because then I'd have to leave.
Do you think you could make like a potato-based phone charger?
Maybe. I'm no fireman, but I'm sure it can be done.
Is that something firemen do?
I don't know. I've never met one.
Never met a fireman?
No.
You didn't have like they didn't come to you in kindergarten?
No.
I
have no sense of fire safety.
Ponzinibbio by points.
Rob Font, Adrian Yanez. Another fight of the night contender, potentially.
Why is this so hard to find? Plus 550. Jeez. All right.
It's not hard. Just click some buttons.
I'm gonna throw like two-thirds of a unit on that one. It's a long shot, plus 550. So generally, like $10 pays $65. It's a long shot. All right, yeah, let's move on. Let's get getting on to the next one. Yeah, we got it's a big bantamweight showdown between Rob Font and the surging Adrian Yanez. So Font is 19-6, Yanez is 16-3. Being bantamweights, they're around 135. Font is a former top 5 contender. He looks to reestablish himself in the division after a couple setbacks, while the rising star Yanez seeks to contribute more to his impressive winning streak and continue climbing through the bantamweight ranks. So both fighters are likely to bring their in game, like you said. Probably another fight of the night matchup. Very explosive and entertaining battle, and both likely to earn performance bonuses. So this should be quite the fight. So I mean, Font's got 9 years of UFC veteran experience, plenty of it. His debut included a KO. He's got impressive win streak since 2018. He's a top 5 ranking. This is Rob Font. He recently beat Garbrandt and Morales. Maybe that's a typo. I don't know if it's Morales or Morales. But anyway, he's got some good victories recently. He's never been knocked out in 25 professional fights, so he's durable and tough. And then Adrian Yanez is he's been explosive. He won Contender Series. He had a first round finish over Brady Wang in 2020. And then he just went on and won 5 straight more with 4 finishes. So very impressive victory over Tony Kelly at UFC Austin. Opening round destruction, showcasing his striking prowess. So yeah, this should be electrifying. A lot of fireworks in this one. I might just go find the KO bet right now.
Yeah, this is one that you're probably going to have to look for value on, because I'm nervous to make a choice. I'll pick either way. Rob Font's a guy that people kind of forgot about. He was, like you said, a top 5. I think he's still maybe a top 10. Definitely top 15 in the bantamweight division. He's a guy that people kind of forgot about. He lost to Marlon Vera last year. He had a couple losses, couple wins as a couple prior years. But he's fought top guys. Cody Garbrandt, like Jose Aldo, Marlon Vera just fought essentially for the belt. So he's fought really good guys, and he was right there at the top of his game. This is one of those fights that that I know that you love, where it's the veteran with a lot of miles versus the young up and coming guy with a lot of energy.
Love him.
Yeah. This is an up and comer is And Yanez is he's good. He's not someone to overlook in any way. He's got a lot of power. Rob Font's got a lot of precision and output. This is going to be a boxing match. I think. I think the path to victory for Rob Font is probably takedowns. For as good as a striker as he is, as good as a boxer as he is, I think the path to victory is to take Yanez down and kind of just control him for as much time as possible. Yanez, for his part, is a high IQ boxer. He's been training more Muay Thai. He's got some grappling enough, I think, to probably not get super worked, which is you gotta have some of that if you're going to be on the main card of a UFC pay per view. So when I look at this, I think the advantage is with Yanez, only because his combinations never seem to end. He throws 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 punches like in a row. He cuts angles extremely well, and Font, from the fights that I've watched, kind of has a weird habit of defending very well and then just like staying put, which isn't great if you're fighting against a high output boxer who cuts angles like Yanez does. Font's never been finished. I don't think he's ever been knocked out. I think this very well could be the kind of fight where that catches up to him against a guy like Yanez. And I could see potentially Rob Font getting knocked out for the first time in his career.
Yeah, I've got it as never been knocked out in 25 professional fights. Interesting. So, Yanez by KO or submissions plus 125. Yanez is a pretty big favorite here. The best you can get is minus 180. Not really a great price, I'd say. If anything, it's almost like I'd rather just take the sheer gamble on plus 155 on Font and just literally knowing it's the underdog, say, well, that's fine. Just at plus 155, all you need is a 40% expected win percentage to be like a positive expected value. So as long as you think Font has a 40% chance, I would bet him.
Yeah, like I said, this is a guy that people forgot about. He was top contender for a really long time, at least a couple of years. And Yanez hasn't, I don't think, fought a guy of that caliber yet. So this is a huge step up in competition for him. I still think he can do it. I still think he has advantages, but Rob Font's been there. He's been around. The wear and tear is one aspect of the story, but the other aspect is he has experience. He's fought the top guys, win or lose. He's been in there for a long time.
Yeah. And the key about profitable sports betting is it's not about being right and wrong every time. Our SugarBets UFC record is under 500, but it's 10% profitable in ROI because it's not about picking the right winner. It's truly about finding bets that are paying the right price. And I just don't think we're getting the right price when I look at Font and Yanez is minus 180. We can think he's likely to win, and he probably is, but minus 180 is an awful lot of VIG to pay. That means for everybody, you have to bet $18 to win $10. So risk 18 to win 10, risk 180 to win 100. It just doesn't feel like it's worth the risk, essentially. But it does feel like for Font, I could risk $10 to win $25, and it just feels much more worth the risk. I'd rather risk $50 on something that's less likely, but that payout's worth it, because over time, if you continue to make those types of smart bets in that way, you'll be profitable. It's a general theory. So let me just take a look. So Rob Font, how do you think he'd win again? Do you think it'd be by decision?
I think if he were to win, it'd probably be on points. Yeah.
Because then the next step I do just to enhance my payouts in these cases. So again, I don't find it likely. It's like I'm adding two things together. I already don't find Rob Font likely to win, But if he is going to win, I do think it's going to be by points. And so I can find that at plus 275. And now I feel like I'm actually getting a decent value. So I'm going to put a half unit on that at MGM. So Rob Font by decision or technical decision, plus 275 at MGM, half a unit. Right on. All right, we got two more biggest ones coming up right here. Two co-main events basically. So let's start with the co-main event, the welterweight clash between the dangerous Gilbert Burns. He's 21-5. Takes on the basically all he's on Jorge Masvidal, who's 35-16 as a welterweight. This is around a 170-pound division. Burns is a top 5 contender. Contender? That's not a word. That was like a contender predator mix up. He's a predator, but not that kind, like the Schwarzenegger kind. Anyway, that's a good, all way off the rails already. Burns, a top 5 contender with aspirations of another title shot. He's faking the striking specialist Masvidal, who seeks to prove he belongs among the division's elite. Although he's had some trouble lately. So they both have contrasting styles and high stakes on the line for both. Should be a pretty intense battle. Again, like we've said, this whole night's going to be just brutal battles. I'm excited. Like every fight looks like it's going to be exciting. And yeah, Burns is he lost to Usman right in 258. Then had a TKO loss after that, but very credible. And then Masvidal, yeah, I don't know. He has like a questionable record, I guess, against active UFC's fighters.
Oh, I missed my cue. Yeah. This is an interesting fight. I think, again, I like I said before, I don't look at the lines before we do these. I would suspect that Gilbert Burns is a huge favorite. He is a guy that right now is a huge fan favorite because of the war that he went through with Kazmat Chimaev, who Chimaev was a massive favorite. Burns showed that he's not someone who's going to be fucked with, and threw down, went to war with him. That's not something that people had seen from Burns before. They'd seen him knock people out. They'd seen him get submission wins. They'd seen him, fight and stuff like that, but not like that. So I think, people are riding really high on Gilbert Burns right now, and he's really hungry. He's got some good wins under his belt. He's got momentum. Really good wrestler, really good jiu-jitsu guy. He's shown that he has hands. So there's a reason he's probably a favorite. Sorry, seeing the thing. Masvidal, though, is a huge question mark. He's past his prime. Like that's just like period. He's past his prime. 2019 was like his year. That was the year where he's been doing this for a long time. He finally got some momentum. He got a couple wins. I think it was over Diaz, and he got that huge knockout against Ben Askren that kind of put him on the map. Since then, honestly, like he's been a little bit of a decline. He's been kind of just like getting the big checks. So the wild card for me in this fight is, does he still have the hunger and the motivation? I don't think he's going to roll over. I don't think he's as hungry as Burns is. Does he still have it, essentially? He's probably going to come in shape. He's in Miami. He's in his hometown. He calls himself the king of Miami, so he probably isn't going to want to get embarrassed in front of his home crowd.
Yeah.
Which is worth something, right?
You've seen that before for sure. I know, like especially international events. I've seen that.
Yeah,
where, like
3 weeks ago.
who?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say the UK and Australia especially seem to have a big hometown favorite.
Yeah. Well, so there's something to be made of Masvidal being from Miami, the king of Miami, all that stuff. Gilbert Burns trains in Miami, so like there's going to be some reception for him there too, but it's just not as public, I guess.
Fair.
Yeah. So I think I think it's not going to be a matter of Masvidal rolling over and saying, "Yeah, I'm at the end of my career. I'm just going to get this paycheck and call it quits." Because there's another storyline here in that Leon Edwards right now is the champion. Leon Edwards and uh, Masvidal, they've got a history. They've got beef. They've got something to be settled. So if Masvidal wants that big paycheck that he's probably after, he's going to do everything he can to win this fight. Try to get the title fight with Leon Edwards because he's going to make a lot of money from that fight if he gets that. I know he's not in line for it. He's got to get through Burns first. But so all of that to say, Burns on paper has all of the physical probably advantages, but there are some intangibles, I think, at play for Masvidal.
How do you feel about the over-under on rounds, 2.5?
I could see this going to a decision, honestly.
That's
I think
the way
if not, Burns is probably going to get a submission in, but Masvidal's, I think, only been knocked out once, which was that Usman knockout, which again, he learned he can't fuck around because that'll happen.
Yeah.
And I think he's only been submitted once, but he didn't tap. I think he got actually choked out. And that was like years ago.
Good for him. Good for him. Yeah. Well, and the reason I ask is because
more cautious, fight a little more defensively. Burns could probably wrestle him. He might get a submission, but I think the chances are more likely that it goes to the judges.
Yeah, because what I'm looking for is you can get that fight over 2.5 at plus 115. Kind of like that bet for 2 units. What do you think?
Over 1.5?
Over 2.5.
Over 2.5? Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, at plus 115, that's at win bet, which not many people have, but I am pleasantly surprised with the win bet app. They often have good bets, good odds.
Yeah, I think this will be a good fight. I think it'll be surprising. I think a lot of people are expecting Burns to just run through him. And of course he could go the other way too, but I think it'll be a closer fight than it is on paper.
Mm-hmm. Just not really getting the odds on submission, like Burns by submissions plus 230. And it's just like, you can think something's likely, but you still need to be getting paid as if it's that likely. Otherwise, it's not worth it. The sports book, that's literally how the sports books make money. So, all right, we got one more big fight. We got Israel Adesanya. He is trying to get his championship belt back from Poatan, the Alex Pereira. It's a middleweight fight. Both fighters have a very unique style and strengths in the octagon, and everyone's been eagerly awaiting this rematch. Adesanya obviously has striking prowess. They've both seen each other in kickboxing and UFC, separately in tournaments. Pereira tends to have the upper hand on Adesanya, it would seem. Adesanya is great with takedown defense. He's always standing up. He's very tall, long. He's good at keeping reach and distance. But Pereira is just powerful, got great striking skills, fantastic kickboxer, and one-punch power knockout. He's just aggressive, and I think it's something Izzy has not dealt with often because a lot of challengers Izzy have been a little, in my opinion, laid back and let him just kind of control the middle of the ring, and he doesn't have to do much because if you're going to take a belt from someone, you have to actually go take it from him. And I think that's what Pereira did in their last match. So, curious what you think. It's the odds are super interesting, so I'm really curious what you think.
Yeah. This is a weird one. I'll just preface everything I'm about to say by saying you're fucking crazy if you think you have any idea what's going to happen in this fight.
That's true. All UFC usually.
And this is my hype too, because and this is why I'm so excited for this fight, is you could say it's going to be Adesanya, it's going to be Pereira, like whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going to be watching literally two of the single best kickboxers in the world fighting each other. Like, that's not hyperbole. They are two of the best. Like, Pereira came over from UFC, from Glory. He was like 33-7 or something like that, like 20-something knockouts. He's a scary man. We know that. We already know that. Adesanya, we know how slick he is, how sharp he is. All of that. Adesanya was like on a legendary run. He was like GOAT status almost, like in the middleweight division. For
a while, it didn't seem like there was anyone who could compete with him.
Yeah, he was like invincible, except for that asterisk of Alex Pereira beating him twice in kickboxing. So he's like his boogeyman kind of to like come like rain on his parade. So this can go a couple ways. Adesanya would argue that one of those matches that went to the judges and Pereira won was Adesanya's fight. Bad scorecards, something like that. You know, there's close fights like that are always up for debate in that way. Their other kickboxing match, Adesanya was winning until Pereira caught him. Same thing that happened in their last UFC fight. Adesanya was winning until Pereira caught him. And there's a couple things here. Adesanya is the one of the best strikers in the world. He's so quick with his feet, good leg kicks, good flow, everything like that. Great head movement. Nobody can beat him when he gets into a rhythm and he gets into a flow. Pereira's never let him get into a rhythm or a flow. He can't find a rhythm. He can't find a flow with Pereira. And that's the only thing that concerns me with Adesanya against Pereira. The guy's beat him 3 times. Not to say that Adesanya, like, for his legacy, needs to beat him, move on from him, regain his belt. And if that happens, there's probably going to be a 5th fight between them. 3rd in the UFC, but 5th fight overall. So I'm kind of leaning Pereira. He's been training with Gilbert Teixeira. So if Adesanya decides to try to take him down, I'm sure Pereira's got some takedown defense. Adesanya's wrestling and takedown offense is not scary anyway. And if he does it, honestly, it's probably going to hurt him because it's going to tire him out. It's going to mess with that flow that he's trying to obtain. I'm just rambling at this point. This is an exciting fight for me. So if I were to lean, I'm going to lean Pereira. I think it's partially because of everything I just said, partially because he's not a guy that's afraid of Izzy. Izzy's won his last couple fights by guys not wanting to engage with him because he's such a good counter striker. Pereira takes those shots, keeps moving forward. He's not scared. He's beat this guy 3 times. He has nothing to be afraid of in his mind.
Yeah, why would he?
Right.
He's aggressive. He knows how to handle his style.
He's the champion. Champions get better once they become champions. And if there's a lesson to be learned from recent history, it's that, like, Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman fight. Usman was so dominant for such a long time, and then he fought a guy he couldn't beat. Leon Edwards beat him twice, once in the 25th minute of a 5-round fight, and then once by decision. Same exact thing happened last time. Adesanya can be good for 24 minutes, and if Pereira is better than him for one of those 25 minutes, he's going to win the fight. That's what happened. So I think the same thing could happen here. I don't know how it's going to end. I have no idea. Like I said, I truly, like, if you think you have an idea what's going to happen in this fight, you're wrong, probably. But
yeah, I mean,
you lean probably Pereira as more than a coin flip if he's the underdog, like you said.
So what's interesting is I'm looking at the odds, and at FanDuel, so across the board, Izzy Adesanya is the favorite. The best you can get on him, if you want just Adesanya to win, is at FanDuel. It's minus 128. But he's up to minus 140 at places like DraftKings, which means at DraftKings you can get Pereira at plus 120, which is certainly better than a coin flip. That would give you up to like a 54% chance. And FanDuel's got Pereira at like plus 102. Like, let's see, Bet Rivers plus 110, Caesars plus 115, MGM plus 110, plus 110, plus 115. So I mean, 120 at
What is
DraftKings.
Pereira by finish? Just out of
What's
curiosity.
that?
What's
What's
Pereira by finish? Just out of curiosity.
Pereira by finish? I'm gonna check DraftKings where his victory itself is already the best odds, because usually the best odds will cascade down. So if you get like he's getting the best money line, then his
You
best
could very easily go down a line of thinking that the way this ends is Pereira wins, but by like much wider margin and finishes him sooner.
Let's see. So Pereira by KO is plus 200. That's the favorite for him. Double chance KO.
Adesanya knocked this dude out cold.
What?
Like, how fucking crazy would it be if Adesanya knocked him out cold? That would be like, I'm just picturing that happen. That would be so insane.
It's more likely, according to DraftKings, than Adesanya getting a submission.
Neither of these. I mean, I could see Pereira getting a sneaky submission in there. Like I said, he's been training with Gilbert Teixeira. He's basically living in Gilbert Teixeira's house.
Do they play night crawlers?
They might play night crawlers
and practice.
Too, so
play night crawlers and practice submissions.
Yeah, it's just jujitsu with the lights off.
Under blankets.
Under blankets.
In worms style.
Any other parlay suggestions?
Yeah, I see that from Cat Attack.
Let's finish this one up. We'll circle back to that. We got a couple.
Yeah, I'm looking Pereira by submissions plus 2,200. If you want to gamble and throw a buck on it, why not? Pereira by KO or decision plus 125. But I can already get Pereira plus 120. Not worry about that accidental random submission that occasionally happens. Like I don't think that's worth 5 points on the money line. Or I could just take Pereira by KO. I kind of just like Pereira, honestly. Plus 120, easy enough. Like why get creative here? Like you sometimes just keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, don't get cute.
I can't help that. Look, Hugh came with the sunglasses. The pitties represent. Need to get Pit Vipers to sponsor us too. Anybody have any actions? So, all right. So I'm gonna go Alex Pereira. Just straight money line. I'm on DraftKings plus 120. Let's do 2 units because I like him. I mean he's beaten Izzy twice, and I love Izzy. He's literally my favorite fighter. But I don't know. I think Pereira's got his number.
This storyline is crazy because it was supposed to be Adesanya's storyline. Like he's got legendary status. He's on a crazy run. He's cleared out the division. He's beat everybody, and then oh no, his old rival comes into the fold and beats him. Like that was not supposed to happen. Yeah. Pereira got like a pretty direct line to the title just because of the history they have, and he won the fights he needed to win in the UFC and all that stuff. But he's also won 40, 50, I don't even know how many kickboxing matches before that. So I don't know. This is like, is it Adesanya's storyline where he like his rival comes in, he ends up being a little bit of a speed bump, and then he overcomes that and moves on and continues to be the fucking great champion? Or is it Pereira's storyline where he sits back in his sport, kickboxing, in his promotion, watches Adesanya go over, get all this glory and all this money and all this fame and all these wins and stuff like that, and then says, I got to go get that guy. I got to go get what he has, and comes and does it. So it's a matter of like, what storyline is it? And that has nothing to do with the actual outcome, but like these two are like the best in the world. And it's so interesting to me that like, I don't know, like who's the hero, who's the villain here kind of thing. Again, doesn't matter for the outcome, but like, I don't know.
No, the narrative
for this fight.
The narratives are always interesting. It's always interesting to see how the UFC decides to push the narrative as well, like what they like their take. Because It's funny because like obviously UFC is true combat, but the way they promote is somewhat adjacent to WWE, and there can be overlap in wrestling a little bit. The way like
it's not going to go away anytime soon because
no,
they are owned by the
there's yeah. A lot of former UFC fighters end up in WWE. Ronda Rousey's one of the biggest, probably the most famous example, but even who am I thinking of? What's his name? Some CM Punk.
Yeah, CM Punk. Well, that was kind of a little bit of a joke. He was not a good fighter. But like you're going to see a lot more of that now because Endeavor owns WWE and UFC.
They're winning the bid, yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot more cross promotion. I think you're going to see a lot more focus on the narratives. You have four of like the smartest promotional businessmen in the world working for the same company now, which is insane. I have no idea what they're going to come up with out of that. But
and I now that it's Endeavor too, that's getting WWE. Because I had saw it rumored that Saudi Arabia was a potential buyer, but I did see a couple weeks ago Michigan and Colorado, they had WWE and a couple of like it was very like it wasn't just like some random petition, it was very formal with regulators and sports books. But Michigan and Colorado look like they're poised to actually allow bets on WWE. And actually, our girl Parlay Jess, who she'll be on the stream soon, but she's actually quite the expert on WWE and the storylines and everything. And so if we can actually bet on WWE, we'll do a whole show, a whole segment on how to bet it, because I mean it's scripted. So you can kind of sort of know like what they're going to do if you really pay attention and know the insider stuff. It's like, what's interesting is like, why would they allow that? Well, another example of where they allow something like that is the Oscars. In Colorado, you can bet on Oscar winners. And I mean, the trouble is not necessarily that it's scripted. It's that somebody knows the answer. Like if you think about even Super Bowl,
what was the line on Will Smith slapping Chris Rock?
I mean, I assume plus 50,000. No, who would? I mean, you would have to find someone offshore to take that bet. That's a back alley bookie bet right there.
A future SugarBets feature.
Back alley bookie bets.
Yeah.
With a handbook on how not to get stabbed. Sounds good.
Yeah, it comes with self-defense lessons.
Yeah, free ebook, how not to get stabbed.
We'll get the winner of the Holland Ponzinibbio fight to sponsor us for that. We'll teach you how to not get stabbed.
Anyone ever wants to hear a crazy screwed up story, ask me about the time my buddy got stabbed on my birthday.
I don't know why I laughed at that, but I think
it's hilarious. Everybody's fine. It's hilarious. There was a settlement. We're great. We're fine. I'll tell the story sometime. Maybe next time. But yeah,
tell it on your birthday next time.
What's that?
Tell it on your birthday next time.
That's in February.
Yeah, I know. We'll get there. It comes back around.
It's fine. Oh, I'm so mad March Madness is over. All right, let's get to this parlay question that Cat Tag Blue had.
Let's do it.
Yeah, if you're gonna take parlay, it's tough tonight because a lot of these fights we just don't like the payout and odds, and we're not exactly sure. So I mean, I'm taking parlays in general are not mathematically great because you're simply multiplying all of the implied odds. So when I talk about implied odds, it's like, well, all right, well, plus 155 implies something. And that plus 155 might imply, hang on now. Plus 155 implies 39%. All right, well, if you have two of those bets, now you have to multiply those odds together. 0.39 times 0.39 is now 15%. So you have a 15% chance of winning that bet. And when you add up the plus 155s and the parlay builder, you're not getting the payout at the 15% rate. That's really the problem with parlays, is that the books really screw you. It's even worse on the ones that they advertise, the like quick and same game parlays, because you'll notice they use alt lines. And the sneaky thing about alternative lines is you can't actually calculate the vig or the juice, and what that means is the percentage that the sports book has. So when we talk about probability and we're like, oh, plus 155 implies 39%. Well, if I go take the other side of it, so that's 39%. And what was the other side of it? 180 minus 180. So 39 and that's a 64%. So 39 plus 64. Well, the sports books have 103% chance of winning. That's how they make the money. As when you take both sides of the odds, run the probability calculator, and then add the two together, and you realize in every single event, the sportsbook has over a 100% chance of victory. That's how they win. And so value betting is simply finding those situations.
Maybe like 6 a.m. for you.
Hey, hey, we got a fan from the Netherlands in the chat. 4 o'clock. What time does it start? It's 10 p.m.
10 o'clock pay-per-view. They probably won't fight until like 1 a.m. our time, so it's going to be like 6 7 a.m. over there.
6 a.m. Hey, wake up and have a beer.
So the main card will start at 10 a.m. Eastern. So right now, 4 a.m.
No, 10 p.m. 10 p.m.
10
Eastern.
p.m. Yes, correct. So the main card will start at right now, tomorrow.
And Eastern to Netherlands time.
Yeah, he just said 4 o'clock in the morning.
4 a.m.
Right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Or she. I don't know.
Yeah, appreciate you watching from the Netherlands.
What do you got? Izzy Pereira. I'm curious what everyone else is thinking, because
anyone in the comments, if you guys got opinions on who you want to watch or who you think will win.
Anyway, this parlay, well, that's coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some good fights that I think have some pretty obvious, maybe not obvious, but like the odds imply who is going to win pretty hard. I'd probably stay away from the early prelims. I don't know the line on the Carl Williams, Chase Sherman, which that is a huge miss on a Sherman Williams sponsorship, because literally Chase Sherman, Carl Williams. Carl, yeah, thank you. Carl Williams is going to get that one, I think.
For context, Ian and I work in the advertising industry. So if you're going to throw something like Sherwin Williams at us, I mean, Sherman, I assume that's what you were going for.
Yes. Thank you. So, I mean, if you're feeling like a risky, I guess, on that one, like taking a risk on that one, Sherman, I keep wanting to say Sherman Williams. God damn it. Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman was supposed to fight Chris Barnett. Remember, you told me Chris Barnett pulled out. That sucks. He's a character. He's a fun fighter. Crazy good taekwondo for a man his size and shape and all the things. So Chris Sherman has Carl Williams stepping in with 1 week notice. It's a heavyweight fight, so conditioning maybe isn't as much of a concern. Carl Williams, I think, is the more aggressive wrestler, better wrestler. Question is, what kind of shape is he in? The lines I would expect favor Carl Williams heavily. He's 8-1, very good wrestler. He's won dominantly before, but you could take a chance on the fact that he's fighting on 1 week notice.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an unfair bet. We've seen fighters do that, and I mean, it's possible. They're right. It's funny because uh, your uh, your hypothesis is dead on. Where the best you can get, Kalen Williams is minus 390 at DraftKings, so a massive favorite. He's as high as 450 at FanDuel. And let's see, minus 450 implies 81% chance.
Yeah, Williams just fought back in March, so he probably is still like in shape. But 1 week to prepare for 1 week to prepare for a guy, like fighters usually go through like 6 week fight camps, 5 6 week fight camps to prepare for one guy, and their techniques and their styles and stuff like that. Williams probably could get it done, but what you're taking a chance on with that fight is the fact that he's taking it on 1 week notice.
Yeah, and so yeah, you're basically saying Sherman, he's plus, you can get him plus 350 at FanDuel, which implies a 22% chance of victory. I mean, again, I'm a gambler. I might take that. I'll have to think about that. But because what's interesting, so he's 350 at FanDuel, but he's as low as 310, plus 310 at Bet Rivers and MGM. So FanDuel's FanDuel's real high in the market. They're minus 450 on Williams and plus 350 on Sherman. So that's a big part of it.
Sherman Williams, it's not going to get out of my head.
Hard not to. Sherman.
Yeah. So you're taking the chance on Williams just kind of being a little bit out of shape. That's really all it is. Williams being a little bit out of shape. The only other prelim that we didn't talk about was Waterson and Pinheiro. And we talked about this a little bit before the stream. I don't really think there's a lot to say there. Waterson's a vet. She's been around forever. She's 18-10. She's had mixed results, of course. Pinheiro, younger, better, faster, stronger, checks all the boxes. So it's a matter of just like the better athlete and the better fighter on paper versus someone who's kind of seen it all. I mean, I don't know what the line is. Maybe favor with Waterson just because of her popularity and her like what she's done recently. Pinheiro, though, I think is the one who's like I don't see really a way that she loses.
All right, so actually Pinheiro is minus 165 at MGM. She is actually quite the favorite. Which, all right, so like you said, you don't see a way she loses. It's a little easier to be reliable on the women fighters, to be honest. There's less knockouts. Like it's just a little easier to feel out how those are going to go. So as far as the parlay, let's give like a parlay of the night. And again, honestly, is SugarBets Candyman here? I really don't recommend parlays. You will rarely find me betting parlays just because it's just really bad math. Again, because you're multiplying your odds together and you're better off simply betting each individual leg on its own. And you'll make out better in terms of ROI that way. So let's put together a parlay. We like Pinheiro, I'd say, at minus 165. We like Curtis over Gastelum.
So do the percentages change when you're putting together a parlay? Like, I know how you're talking about like, go ahead.
Well,
you the only thing sure for a parlay.
The only thing I was going to say is the parlay will have to happen at the same sports book.
Right. But do you need to be more sure for your legs in a parlay than like a 50-50?
So the best way to do that, to think about it, like the math would say, you should really only bet parlays when each leg of the parlay itself is individually calculated as plus odds. So and plus plus expected value. And the plus expected value comes from when we think the probability of an event is more than the payout of the implied probability of the payout.
So that would be a good prelim parlay, even just a 2-leg to do Pfeiffer by KO and Panera. Because he talked about how that was a good bet, but not a good positive outcome potentially.
Yeah, so a simple 2-leg. I like when parlaying. I especially don't like the problem with method of victory is it's obviously a bit fluky. And so with parlays, I try to reduce the flukiness because I'm already multiplying poor odds together.
So you think something like Pfeiffer Panero could be a reasonable parlay?
That's my thought, yeah. And
Maybe a
then
mix of roses because
maybe and then roses exactly to 3-leg it to maybe make it, and then you could, if you want, depending on how you like to parlay, everyone's different. So we just make our observations and give some suggestions. But you could throw roses, Pfeiffer, Panero, and maybe Yanez or Curtis. Maybe sometimes I like to throw in just like a plus odd leg just to really amp the payout.
yeah,
Something
a
like
sneaky
Curtis.
one that's on the early prelims is Shah Yalan, Steve Garcia. Shah Yalan's a guy that I think is going to be a sneaky win. We didn't really talk about that one. There's not a lot to say. Steve Garcia's got a contender series win, even though he was overweight. Got a shot, got his win. Shah Yalan's beat some guys in some pretty impressive fashion. So that might be one worth watching as well.
Can't find a line on that.
My phone died, so I can't look. That's a me problem.
See, wait, you said Steve Garcia?
I would go the other guy, Shah Yalan. Yeah, but that fight.
Yeah, that's not bad because he's minus 180 at Caesars, minus 185 at MGM. So let me put that parlay together. We would do Panero, Pfeiffer. Looks like DraftKings is actually probably the best place to make this bet. Panero, Pfeiffer. Who else did we just say? Shayline.
Roses and Shah Yalan.
Rosas. Also 240 at DraftKings. 250 at MGM. It's really DraftKings or MGM, one of the two. I'd have to plug it in both and figure this out. Will be best. Putting this to the chat right now. So we've got a 4-leg parlay. Feel free to round robin it, dice it up however you want. That into the chat. But otherwise, yeah, I'm excited. We don't usually stream on UFC Saturdays. We just watch, but I don't know, maybe we'll start. And it's been suggested to me that I just need to get some game controllers. And you and I can just pretend like we're playing. I'll be Izzy and you be whoever. Dana White.
I'll be Dana White. That's fine. Be fun to live tweet during these too, actually, during the fights.
Live tweet, live stream.
Live tweet or live stream. Well, we'll see. Like if we're doing well, we'll live tweet and be like, or if we're doing well, we'll live stream, show our faces. If we fucking suck, we'll tweet and be like, I've lost so much money. I'm sorry.
Follow us for more how to be homeless advice.
No, we're doing great, actually. Pay-per-views is where we make our money. That's what we've always going back like a few years. Honestly, we've
Oh yeah,
always
we
done
crushed
really
it.
well on pay-per-views.
Absolutely. I like tonight. We didn't really get too much into like method of victory. We didn't get cute. We really stayed on topic, stayed on straight bets, pick winners, find good value, make smart decisions. So
Yeah, should be some good fights nonetheless.
hopefully we don't lose my shirt tomorrow. And then what else we got coming up? We got an NFL draft coming up for SugarBets. I'll start fantasy football because I'm a nut job, but I'll begin my fantasy football stuff in May, basically right after the NFL draft. I was a finalist in DraftKings big like season long millionaire best ball tournament. Made it to the final round. Actually ended up finishing 220th out of 900,000 entries. So that's a top 0.1%. I appreciate the applause. That's right. I just discovered I have these. That's gonna drive people away fast.
Read it too, viewers.
All right, I'm gonna stop immediately. Apologies.
All right.
All right, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for joining tonight. For our UFC 287 preview. Should be a fun night. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I don't quite know how to stream while watching. Also,
Not worth it. I'll be yelling too much.
yeah, and I'll be drinking a lot more.
Spring water.
Right on. All
Enjoy
right.
water. Enjoy 287. Everybody enjoy 287.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Later.
SugarBets signing off. Candyman and Sweet Ian. We'll see you next week.